It's time for ROTD Weekend. My newest strategy for getting dinners on the table quickly is all about cooked vegetables. So I don't know about you, but this time of year just slams me with back to school and just so much going on. And then we have, Canadian Thanksgiving's coming up, which is of course an important thing for my family, even though we live in the States. My parents are actually coming to stay with us for a month shortly after that. I am so excited, but we will definitely be doing some Canadian Thanksgiving in there. And then of course, November is here, Thanksgiving, and then Christmas right after. The year just speeds up around now, right? And there's so much going on. So having those ways to get dinner on the table more quickly and have it be healthy is key. So that is what my new strategy is all about. Now, I know you've heard from many people before this thing that I do not do. Maybe some of you do it. When you get your vegetables, fruits home from the grocery store, you right away wash and chop everything so it's all prepped and ready to go. That is a great idea. I am not talking about that. I'm talking about actually cooking the vegetables that can be used as vegetable side dishes or later thrown into things. So what I've realized, this is just me, is that I find it very, very easy to get most parts of dinner going, whether it's a one skillet dinner or some chicken in a pan or in the oven, some rice going, some farro, some quinoa. But then it's always the vegetable that I'm like, oh, and not because I don't like it. I love the cooked vegetables. It's just because they take some prep, right? If you've got green beans, you got to line them all up and trim those little tips off of them all. If you've got broccoli, you're breaking down all those florets, and then I like to peel the stem and chop that up too. And then you've got to cook it. So there's always this have to prep it, then have to cook it sort of thing. So what I've decided to do is when I get the vegetables home from the grocery store, I'm not only washing and prepping them, I'm also cooking them. Just basic roasting kind of thing so that I can then just warm up some delicious vegetables in the microwave. I have a side dish right away, but also cooked cold vegetables are wonderful in salads or can be added to just about anything. And so if, we're having a nice crispy green salad, I can throw in some roasted broccoli. I can add some roasted beets. Probably wouldn't do that with cooked greens, which are another thing that I am pre-cooking. Some Swiss chard, mustard greens, that kind of thing. I am actually steaming those or cooking them in some boiling water. I will link to how to cook those greens in the show notes for this podcast episode. So yeah, I wouldn't put those cooked greens in a salad, but you know what you can do is you can put them under things like a little bed, right? So if you've got some cooked up Swiss chard, all beautiful green and purple, warm that up and then put it on the plate. Put your chicken breast on top of there, sprinkle some breadcrumbs on top. And that doesn't even have to be your main vegetable. It is just because you have those cooked vegetables in the fridge, it is easy to add them to all kinds of things. So that is what I'm doing. And right now, as we speak, I do have 6 beets that I've roasted and then I peel them after roasting them. The peels come off really easy. You know what? I'll link to how to roast beets as well for you. But I have some roasted beets in the fridge, chopped up. I've got the beet greens. I have some sauteed zucchini, some asparagus, and 2 cobs of corn that I've cooked as well. So all of that is there. Oh, and also some mushrooms I roasted in the air fryer. I literally just put them in the air fryer and turned it on. They turn out great. And I've bought some king oyster mushrooms. This is something that Marty and I fell in love with when we were in Belgium. They had them at all the grocery stores and I didn't think we'd find them here, but now my Publix grocery store is selling them already sliced. I am in love with them. So I cooked up a bunch of those as well. They're a really meaty mushroom. In fact, people actually use them as vegan scallops because the stems are round and kind of have the shape of scallops if you cut them like that, and you can sear them and they're nice and meaty. So I have all of those things cooked in my fridge and I'm going to see if I can use them all this week and not have waste and see if it adds some extra healthiness to our meals and saves me a little bit of time and a little bit less of that groaning when I'm like, oh God, I've got to prep the broccoli. You know what I mean? Speaking of broccoli, I know I've told you before that the way I got my kids to like broccoli was to use lemon pepper on it and then later to do this delicious lemon butter with a little bit of sugar in it. That totally kills the bitterness and they love it. But that lemon, that's that secret ingredient that makes so many vegetables taste so good. A little bit of that lemon zest. And so on that theme, broccoli, vegetables, zest, I have an exciting guest to tell you about today. I am getting zesty with Lisa Lotz from garlicandzest.com. We are talking all about citrus and more. So listen to this zesty conversation with me and Lisa Lotz. Lisa Lotz, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I am delighted to talk with you. We met at a really fun conference where we learned a lot, and now we're reconnecting. And I would love to know how you got started in this industry. How did you start your food blog in the first place?
Well, it started about a little over 10 years ago, and I've been in sales for most of my life. I worked at newspapers, the South Florida Sun Sentinel, and I did a stint there, and I did some online advertising sales, which kind of gave me a look into, the internet and the online world. And then I went into a completely different field, which was pharmaceutical sales. And after that, pharma's kind of one of those weird things where they had a bunch of reps at one time and they just oversaturated the market. So they had a downsizing and I left and I was just feeling lost, like I needed to do something completely different. And I fell in love with food blogs. I was reading them constantly. I would binge them. And I decided, this is probably the only thing that actually speaks to me creatively. And that's where I got my start.
I love that. And it's such a fascinating industry. It's so many people, not the same story as yours, but a similar. These are like passionate home cooks who are looking for something to do, to share their passion, to get excited about. And there happened to be this place that we could do it. And it's inspiring.
With
so many
people that feel the same way, right?
Yeah.
Because you're talking to other people who are interested in food and you could talk all day about food, right?
Yeah, no, I know. It's so great. Yes. And I do that. I'm sure you do it too. I talk all day with people about food. That's great. So your site is garlicandzest.com. How did you choose that name?
Well, I went through a bunch of different ideas on how to create the website name, but garlic and zest are two ingredients that I use in virtually everything I do. And my mother-in-law at the time said, well, you may not want to do that because not everybody likes garlic. And I'm like, you know what? If they don't like garlic, they don't belong on this site.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's so true, right? Well, there's that whole adage, if you're trying to please everyone, you please no one or something, right? So you have to find your people. But I also think that she's wrong because most people now do love garlic. I think that was I know my former mother-in-law, she would say, oh, there's so much garlic in that, or this kind of thing where I don't ever hear, nobody says that now. You don't, oh, there's too much garlic in there. It's more like, oh my God, I love how much garlic there is here. This is so garlicky. This is so good, right? So the zest part, I am sad to admit that I forget to use zest. You mean citrus zest, right?
Yeah. Oh, I'm talking I keep this stuff
oh my goodness.
on hand all the time.
Okay, you can't see Lisa like I can, my darling listeners. Lisa's holding up bags of citrus to show me. Well, you're also in South Florida, so depending on the time of year, it's also just there. It's beautiful.
I think it's better than anywhere else you can get it because it's grown here, and the sun makes it sweet, makes it juicy and bright. It's wonderful.
So do you have tips for using zest? Can we zest anything? Right? I assume we wash them first.
No, I definitely, I rinse my citrus, but I don't wash it with, a sponge or anything like that. Mm-hmm. I like to use zest in virtually everything from dressings to smoothies. I use it in savory sauces, a little bit of zest actually I will be using some today, not giving anything away. But yeah, no, I find that you add a little bit of citrus zest. It could be lemons, could be limes, could be orange, grapefruit, whatever. I have a calamondin bush in my backyard it's a very small, it looks like an orange. It's about, I would say, the size of, a large marble.
Mhm.
And it's the juiciest, tangiest. It's not sweet. It's kind of like a lemon or a lime, but
Mhm.
in terms of sourness, but just makes the best marmalades. And you
Oh,
can put it in cocktails and you can make marinades with it. And I do a dressing with it, it's just
wow.
fabulous.
What was it called again?
It's a calamondin. It's also known as a calamansi lime. And I've got them, it's my patio citrus.
Wow. Now I'm super jealous. I want that.
I
I
highly recommend it.
when I first moved to Florida, there were citrus trees in our yard, and I realize they probably hadn't been cared for properly, and that was the issue. But the fruits were not good. The oranges had tons of seeds in them. The lemons were like, I want to say bitter. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like bitter flavor. Like I didn't want to use any of them, and it sort of made me nervous about trying to grow anything now. But that's probably what was wrong, right?
They could be old too. I mean, if the trees, I think they're more than 20 or 30 years old, they tend to degrade. I used to have a
Oh.
honey belt tree in my backyard and it had wonderful fruit, but then in the last few years, it wasn't quite the same.
Mhm, mhm.
So, because it was old, it was like 40 years old.
So when you're adding zest to things, are you always, because the things you mentioned were all like liquidy things, are you almost always adding them to liquids, or can you include them like in a dry, like a spice rub, or is it usually something that you suspend in some kind of liquid?
Well, if you can make a lemon pepper, right? And that is
Mm.
lemon zest and pepper.
Oh, I love
That's as
lemon pepper.
simple as you get. Yeah. And you would just dry the lemon zest in the oven at a very low temperature. And then you just blitz it with pepper in your food processor. And that makes a really nice little seasoning. So,
Oh, I love that. That's a great idea. Yeah, my actually, I talk about lemon. I just buy lemon pepper. I've never tried making it myself. Now I will try. But I think of it as the gateway to vegetables. My kids didn't like broccoli. I started putting lemon pepper on it. Now they still prefer it with like a lemon or lemon pepper kind of thing going on, but they'll eat it like anytime. Broccoli is now okay. Green beans, meh. They were meh with them. Lemon pepper. Now they eat green beans all the time. And so it makes especially like green vegetables, it makes them taste really like vibrant and exciting. And I think lets you get to know them a bit, you know?
interesting you say about the green beans because it's the most simple preparation of green beans. And I used just raw garlic and a little lemon zest and lemon juice, salt and pepper and butter. And you just blanch the beans until they're crisp tender
Hmm.
and then just mix it with that. And it just takes regular green beans completely to another level.
Hmm.
And one of my common just go-tos on a weeknight because it's so easy, but not everybody treats their vegetables that way. And
Hmm.
it doesn't take much,
Hmm.
but it makes all the difference.
Is that recipe on your website?
It is.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I'm gonna go look for it because I know that they would love it. Speaking of recipes from your website, did you bring a surprise recipe to tell me about today?
I did.
Does
I
it have
did.
zest in it?
It's actually got lemon juice.
Okay, no zest.
Yeah.
Darn.
Yeah.
Okay, what is the recipe?
But it's got garlic. So,
Oh, well, there we go.
it is a spicy Caribbean mahi mahi.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Do you
So,
cook with mahi mahi a lot?
I mean, we live in South Florida, so it's seafood central. What I like about this dish in particular, it's part of my heritage because half of my family is from the island of Martinique in
Oh.
the Lesser Antilles. So it's something that I grew up on, but it's a dish that you can make no matter where you are.
Hmm.
You can make it with any kind of fish. Mahi is
Right.
what we use because it's common here. But if you live in the Northeast or out West, or even I've made this for my family in Minnesota using walleye.
Oh, I love walleye. We call it pickerel where I'm from, but yes, it is. It's a lovely, lovely fish. Just in case people aren't familiar, I'm sure they are, but in case they're not, can you describe mahi in terms of like its thickness, texture, flavor?
So mahi, it's also known as dorado. It's a beautiful fish, like gorgeous teal and yellow and green
Mm,
color.
mhm,
If you
mhm.
see a bull mahi, it's just magnificent when you're catching it. It's about, I would say, an inch and a half to 2 inches thick for a fillet.
Mhm.
It's very mild. Good fresh fish should not taste like fish, and so, it doesn't.
Mhm.
It's flaky, it's light, but it's also meaty.
Mhm. Mhm.
You feel like you're eating a piece of meat,
Yeah.
and one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, it's meaty, it's gentle, and I'm intrigued because I think that meatiness is possibly why it can stand up to like a nice spicy Caribbean flavor, right?
Absolutely,
Wonderful.
absolutely.
Okay, where do you start when you're making this one?
So we start with green scallions and garlic, shallots, and olive oil. And so that's the
Mm.
base. What we're going to be doing is making essentially a coubouillon, which a coubouillon is a poaching liquid
Okay.
for, I mean, you could poach anything in it. You could do chicken or whatever, but it's a really nice way to treat fish. Especially, I think that this is a good recipe for people who are afraid to cook seafood. Like they don't want to put fish on the grill because it'll flake apart or tear
Hmm.
or whatever. And what I like about this is that it's such an easy and gentle method that you really can't screw it up.
I like that.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
So you just heat some olive oil in the pan, but you're not bringing it up to a high heat. It's a very like medium heat. And then you're adding your chopped scallions, garlic, and shallots, and you're going to let it just steam, sweat
Hmm.
until vegetables are soft. You don't want them to get brown. You don't want them to intensify in flavor because this is really just the background.
Right.
And so it takes, 8 or 10 minutes to do it on a low heat so that it's just translucent, right? You want those shallots and garlic to kind of just break down and be softer. And then you add in some really good tomato sauce. And not a lot, maybe half a cup to a cup of tomato sauce. And you're just creating the layers for the poaching liquid.
Hmm.
I add fresh thyme, but you could use dried thyme as well. And for spice, traditionally you would use it's like a Scotch bonnet pepper, but
Hmm.
comes from the islands and it's called piment fort. It's very, very spicy, but it's got this beautiful perfume. If you can't get that, crushed red pepper flakes, that works.
Okay.
And so just you put that in and you're just building the layers and letting it simmer. You add like half a cup of water to the tomato sauce. And again, let it just simmer for 10 or 15 minutes. Gets nice and cozy in there. And then you add your fish fillets.
Okay.
And the fish, I mean, I usually do it in, maybe 4 to 6 ounce portions. And you just drop it into the poaching liquid and put the lid on and let it just rest and sit.
Do you turn the heat off at this point, or the
No,
heat's still
no,
on that low
still on a
simmer? Yeah.
medium to low. Yeah. You're just poaching it.
Is
Okay.
the fish fully submerged in that liquid at this point?
No, it only comes up about halfway.
Halfway. Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I did omit that
Oh.
I also add bay leaves and parsley
Mhm.
to the tomato sauce.
Is there salt in there as well?
There is, but it's not, it's not a salty dish.
Right.
So, I salt to taste,
Hmm.
and you can do that all during and then just, add at the end as well,
Hmm.
depending on how much you like in your dish.
Hmm. Hmm.
So you've got the poaching liquid, which is primarily tomatoes, but you're getting a kick from the red pepper. You've got all of those wonderful layers of the garlic and the scallions, and the fish just poaches. And it actually gives up a little bit of liquid on its own when it's sitting in that bath.
Hmm.
You flip it over and let it go for maybe another 5 or 6 minutes. That'll cook it all the way through. And then just before serving, you're going to squeeze that fresh lemon over the top. It adds this brightness and a zing tang to the dish and a little bit of fresh parsley, and that's it.
Okay, I still have another question. The pepper that you added, the Scotch bonnet or whatever pepper, are you chopping that or is it going in whole?
Well, so if you're using an actual Scotch bonnet, you put the whole thing in. You don't touch it, you don't cut it or anything because it can be too spicy. If you're using red pepper flakes, then it's going to disperse the heat throughout the dish.
If you use something like a jalapeno instead, would you just drop that in, like a couple of those in whole, or?
So I've never done it with a jalapeno. That's interesting. And I guess, it does add the heat. If I were doing it though, I think I would skip a jalapeno and go with a hot sauce. Use your favorite, Caribbean hot sauce. And that will probably get you to where it needs to be.
And is the sauce, is it like, before I add the fish to it, if I was going to taste it, should it be spicy to taste?
Have a little heat, but you know what? You can make it as spicy or unspicy as you like. So everybody's got a different heat level that they're willing to accept. Anyway, you serve this with a sticky rice. Yeah, you want something that's starchy that kind of soaks up some of the sauce. We like to serve it also with a cucumber salad, like a grated cucumber salad, because it takes away some of the heat. It just kind of mediates.
So when you're serving it, you're going to use like some kind of like fish spatula sort of thing to get the fish out of the sauce and then spoon the sauce over, or how are you doing this?
Yeah, I use a serving spoon, just, and something that's going to hold the sauce, and just put it right on top of the rice. And that's
and the sauce is thick at that point?
It is. You're adding a little bit of, you've got the water, which thins it out, right? So you add the water in 2 stages. The first stage is when you're doing just the vegetables and the tomato sauce. And then at the very end, you add a little bit more water. It's like a 1/4 cup, along with the lemon juice.
Okay.
And it makes it to a consistency that is sauce-like. It's not too thick. It's not very thin, but it coats the fish.
Oh, perfect. I love it. I'm thinking I might try making this for my kids. I think they might like it. I'm trying to get them to eat a little bit more fish. And so different flavor combinations and things seem perfect for them. I love this idea. Well, Lisa, thank you so much. I'm inspired about using more zest in my life, and I've forgotten the name, trying to find those little lime-like citrus fruit.
Almondins,
Yeah. So many exciting things. Can you let people know where they can find you online if they want to see more of your ideas? I will, of course, link in the show notes, but let us all know where they should go.
So the website is garlicandzest.com, and you can find me on Facebook and Instagram, Pinterest at Garlic and Zest.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
I have to tell you that since I spoke with Lisa, I have made this recipe twice. I mean, it was so good the first time that I made it again. So the first time I made it with the mahi, like Lisa said. And then the second time, which was just the other day, I made it with cobia, which is like my new favorite fish. It's got a firmish texture, really mild flavor, really nice. So I can vouch for this recipe. It is delicious. You've got to try it. I will put the link to the recipe in the show notes, or you can head to garlicandzest.com and search for mahi there, and you'll find it for sure. Okay, so other than making Lisa's tasty fish recipe and also all those cooked veggies that I was telling you about, I have other stuff going on in my kitchen, my work kitchen. That is when I'm testing recipes, photographing them, doing the videos. So the lovely Jennifer, my kitchen helper, is coming over again this week, and we have a lot to do. I think I told you recently that we were testing a crustless pumpkin pie recipe. I have scrapped that. I tried 3 different ways, and it's just not as good as with the crust. And I decided that I don't know the point of doing it, and so we are not going to bother proceeding with that one. But instead, because I had all this pumpkin, the canned pureed pumpkin on hand, I decided to try something, and I made a pumpkin spice hot chocolate that is so seriously delicious. It tastes like a cross between like hot chocolate, Mexican hot chocolate, and pumpkin pie. It really does. And it's luscious and delicious. And so that recipe is getting the royal treatment, a full round of retesting, photographs, and a video this week. I'm also doing a video for my homemade pumpkin spice. This just makes a small amount, which is really handy if you realize that you don't have any that you bought from the store, the pumpkin spice already, and you need to mix some up. This is how you just do it real quick with just a few things. So I'm doing that video this week as well. And then we are perfecting those ham glazes that I know I've already told you about. There's a pineapple glaze and a maple glaze, both for ham. So I'm doing those one more time. Last time I tested them on the slow cooker ham that I'm doing, but this time I want to test them on a baked ham to make sure that they are exactly right. So we are doing that this week. That's a big job. Lots of ham. I'm telling you, my freezer is full of roast pork from when I did the pork shoulder roast with the crackling. And I also did a big pork butt roast. I wanted the videos from those. So I did those one weekend, and I have 3 big Ziploc bags of roast pork sort of pulled in the freezer, which I've been putting in like quesadillas and tacos and things for the kids. Now there's about to be several Ziploc bags full of ham as well. You know, I'm going to have so many easy dinners heading my way, all that ham, all that pork, and I have all those veggies already cooked. It's going to be a snap, right? And I am doing one more thing. I'm not sure if I told you about this or not, but I am so excited about it. So, this is the festive side of salmon. I have been testing. It is beautiful red and green colors. So it looks very, very Christmassy, and it is delicious. It's like Mediterranean flavors. It is a big side of salmon that you cook and then you kind of let come down to not room temperature, but just a little bit cooler than right out of the oven, because you're then spreading like a tzatziki sauce all over it, although without cucumber in it. But it's that kind of sauce made with sour cream the way I love it. So it's like a sour cream dill garlic sauce. You spread that all over the salmon, and then onto that you put a mixture of chopped tomatoes, roasted red peppers, parsley, and there's also chives in there. So that's the red and green, and that just gets piled all over the salmon, and it is so easy to make, so beautiful, so festive, and so delicious. So I am doing the final version of that. I did do a video last time that I did it, but I want to get a couple of extra shots as well. So that is happening this week, and I'm so excited about the leftovers from that as well. As to what is going live on the sites this week, very exciting. We have how to cook pork cube steak. I know I told you about this back when I was testing it, but I was seeing pork cube steak on sale at my grocery store all the time. Like it was on BOGO, and I'm like, I didn't even know that they make pork cube steak. So I of course had to buy it and tested a whole bunch of things and came up with the perfect way to cook it. And this is really nice because you can use it the same way that you do like chicken cutlets or anything like that. It's a nice lean kind of like loin pork cut, but it's been all like tenderized. So it has those little dents all in it. You know what I mean? And then you just like put some flour seasonings on there, fry it up, and then you treat it just like a chicken cutlet. You can do like Parmigiana, some tomato sauce, some cheese. You can just have it like it is. A little bit of applesauce is really nice on there. So yeah, it's just a very, very simple, easy thing to cook, and now we know how to do it the best way. So that is going live on Cook the Story this week, and also an air fryer chicken shawarma recipe. I can't remember if I told you about this. I probably did. My kids love this, which really surprised me. It's, you know, chicken shawarma flavoring. So it's a little bit spicy and a little bit like warm spice cinnamon in there. It's so good and really easy. Like you just put it in the air fryer and leave it alone until it's cooked using chicken thighs, really juicy. So that is going live on the Cookful this week. And if you want to hear more about the air fryer chicken shawarma or the pork cube steak, you are correct to guess that those are episodes of this podcast this week. So those are definitely coming your way. I've also got a delicious pot roast, a ground beef casserole, some steak tartare, lots of delicious things on the Recipe of the Day podcast. If you've not subscribed already, make sure you are subscribed. There are over 1,100 episodes of this show. So many things to inspire you. If you want to subscribe, whatever podcast app you listen to, go to that on your phone and search for Recipe of the Day. I am almost definitely there. I'm all over the place. If not, though, head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and you will see the places that you can subscribe right from there as well across the top, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, that kind of thing. And if you like the things that I'm doing, you can also follow me on YouTube. I am getting quite the following over there, I think from some of those shorts that I've posted. So definitely search for Cook the Story there and you will hear my voice, but with video accompanied there all over the place also. And my videos are also on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. I am Cook the Story in all three of those places. If you haven't followed me already, make sure you do that. I want to say a huge thank you to Lisa Lotz for being such a great guest. Everybody go and check her out, garlicandzest.com. And a big thank you to you for listening. And don't forget to tell your friends, anybody who loves cooking, tell them about the Recipe of the Day pod. I am Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, the all new chicken cookbook. And from this podcast, Recipe of the Day, I hope you have a great weekend. Let's get cooking.